You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line is a gentleman who just departed Impact Wrestling, who we had on back before Bound for Glory a couple years back. I'm, of course, speaking of Larry D. Are you with me, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you back on the show. So, of course, I started out the show by saying it, but you're now a former Impact Wrestling wrestler. You requested your release. What decided, or what made you decide that it was time to try your hand elsewhere?
Well, I mean, before I go into that, I have to say that, I'm forever grateful for Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling changed my life on December the 19th, there in Dayton, Ohio with the Wrestling Revolver. They've allowed me to not only believe in myself enough that I could sufficiently provide for my family through pro wrestling, of which I would have never gained the confidence to just leave my regular job had it not been for Impact Wrestling. So as far as Impact Wrestling goes, I'm super blessed and always grateful for the opportunity that they give me while I was there. As far as asking for my release, as hard as it was, as difficult as it was, it got to the point that I have to believe in myself and I have to bet on myself. And, the times that I'm sitting at home, I see other opportunity around that I feel that I would do well at if I could be a part of. And once AC asked for his release, I never had the word release on my mind. And, there was a Larry D relaunch that was only a couple episodes or two outside of Wrestle House. And I kind of seen the writing on the wall that creatively there was just nothing there for me, or they just didn't care to write for me, which was fine as well, because I understand finally for the first time in 20 plus years that is nothing personal and that business is just business. And it was just business for me to kind of pick my pride up a little bit and see what else might be out there for me if Impact didn't really have anything for me at this time. I would love to come back to Impact Wrestling, but right now, if I can creatively go somewhere else and find success, then I felt that was my best option.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And right now is, I don't know if it's a buyer's or seller's market for wrestlers right now, because there's just so many people on the free agent market. I know Jeff Jarrett has been quoted as saying, this would be the perfect time for another company to spring up because there's just so many available talents out there that are of quality. And I mean, if you look at the scene right now, there definitely are a lot of free agents like yourself who are looking for work right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I think right now with all the free agents, there's not only a lot of talent to snatch up, but there's a lot of great matches to be had. Just because we're labeled free agents doesn't mean that, we have to be signed somewhere to come do some work. I think someone could easily take myself and say a Keith Lee, who is a free agent as well, right, and would make great business together. I think that someone could take, say, me and a Jacob Fatu or an Alex Hammerstone and be great business. I think that we could take myself with, anyone on the AEW side of things. I would love to get in there and mix it up with and prove that I'm still one of the best wrestlers in the world. And, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I just want to prove that I can still play on the field.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mind if I ask you a couple Impact questions and we'll circle back around to the current scene?
Of course.
All right. So being paired with AC Romero, he was your initial opponent, and then, of course, you guys got teamed as a tag team, Triple XL, and you guys really kind of would like the mod. I'm old. I'm a little older even than you. I'm 3 years older than you, to be exact. Growing up, the Twin Towers, Big Boss Man and Akeem, those guys were the big tag team that you would see, two really big guys. That's what you guys reminded me of, like a modern day version of the Twin Towers. Did you enjoy being paired with another guy who was equal or larger size than yourself?
I loved being paired with AC. We had a really good time together, and I wish that maybe we had known each other a bit more personally prior to the tag team, because I feel that we would have had far more success if we were familiar with one another. But prior to that, I had only known AC from the Midwest area, and I would see him, in Dayton, Ohio, or out in Iowa with a Revolver, and we were always friends and cordial. And we got to know each other, and then they paired us up. And from my understanding, it wasn't supposed to be a pairing like that out of our first loop of TV with Impact there in Lexington and Louisville. And then love his soul and love his heart is D'Lo Brown was doing color commentary, and as we're walking through the ring, he says, they're 3 times the size of their opponents. They're 3 times the size of any man that stands across them. It's like they're triple extra large. I think I want to call them triple XL. And that kind of stuck and it hit. And from there, we was off to the races as triple XL. Then we got to share the ring with a lot of great talent. We got to get on a lot of great shows and do a lot of great things. It's unfortunate that I feel we could have had a much better run with Impact Wrestling, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. After years and years on the independent scene to get on television and then have the world basically stop turning with the COVID pandemic, and now all of a sudden, instead of wrestling in front of crowds, you're wrestling in front of no one, stagehands and the announcers, that's it. Was that difficult for you to step out in front of there with no audience and to be on national TV, having to kind of figure this whole thing out with no crowd reaction to play off of?
It was difficult at first, but I feel that, we're all professionals and that we come to work and provide for our families. So we knew the job had to be done. And I feel that Impact Wrestling accommodated great during the COVID period. I know that we're still in a COVID era, but what you're speaking of is when things were shut down and air travel were limited and such. And we knew that was going to be a difficult task, but I have to say that Impact Wrestling went out of their way above and beyond to make sure that we had the proper amount of people in where they needed to be. And, we would come in and tape in waves to make sure that we had the right amount of capacity towards, people. In Gorilla, you could only have so many people, and they had people set in place just for that. And I can't do anything but applaud them for the safety measures and protocols that they went through to make sure that we as talent stayed safe. Now, as far as the taping of it, yeah, that was difficult. But I believe that COVID era made better for me as far to do what I'm doing today and to be able to get myself out there and believe in myself, because I had a lot of opportunity during that to prove myself to the world. And I think that I've done so with my weight loss and my work ethic and just wanting to be able to come to work.
Very cool. You referenced it a little bit earlier. You mentioned Wrestle House. And I told you during our last time, and I'll tell you again, I despise reality TV like with a purple passion. I just view it as waiting room TV. And I thought when I first heard what was going to be Wrestle House that I was going to hate it. I thought, this is so stupid. And then I watched it. And I realized how perfect it was for the time, especially because there were no crowds. So you could do some things like this and be experimental. And I felt like you guys achieved a goal of giving everybody your own unique personalities. And I just don't think that when you came back to the arena that they really picked up on it as much as they could have. First things first, though, what did you think of Wrestle House and playing those two characters, your usual Larry D and also getting to be Lawrence D, the lover?
Yes, I think that Wrestle House was a very scary option for me when I got that was my creative, and I was nervous because it was something that I had never done before. But once we got there and I embraced the Lawrence D character, that this is where we're at, and it allowed me in the overall to show that I do have range and to show that I'm more than just a big, burly, long hair, heavy right-handed performer or talent. It allowed me to, bring out a comedic side. It allowed me to go out of my comfort zone, and I feel like Lawrence D delivered. I feel that if Lawrence D was wrote properly for, that Lawrence D could have been a real big asset to Impact Wrestling.
I agree. And and tell me what you think of this. And, I'm not trying to stir the pot, but I almost feel like maybe Kylie Rae's disappearance after after what happened with her at Bound for Glory, maybe that had something to do with the Wrestle House guys maybe not getting as much of the sunshine on them as they were before? Am I completely off base on that one?
I can't really say that. I feel that, I can't say that I agree with that. As far as Kylie goes, I'm so happy and glad that she's doing well. I think that she is definitely one of the top tier talents on our industry today. And just seeing her updates as where she's at with her mental health and how she's gotten herself to a point of where she seems to be getting happy again, and I couldn't be more happy for her. As far as it affecting where the talent went in regards to the Wrestle House side of things and the active roster side of things, I feel that Wrestle House was a great creation to gain some attention towards a product that was, every product that you've seen on TV at that time was an empty arena-based product. And I feel that Wrestle House gave a new sense of flavor, or it was something different that people at first maybe looked at it like, oh man, what is this? And then by the end, they really loved it, and it helped me be able to find more range to me as an artist inside a professional wrestling ring or in front of a camera, far beyond anything I ever imagined in my life.
Very cool. For somebody like you, what was it like to work with somebody like Tommy Dreamer, both in the ring and behind the scenes?
It was an absolute pleasure to work with someone like that who has been around the industry for so long and has achieved so much. And not only that, he's one of the smartest minds when it comes to putting a match together that I've been around. Professional wrestling, it's nothing but soak up knowledge. And Dreamer, with one of those things, you got to have some tough skin. And a lot of times when he would be my agent, you would have to have tough skin. But I know for a fact that when Tommy Dreamer was there helping me alongside or just giving me some guidance, that it was for the betterment of my wrestling match career and overall.
Awesome. And you mentioned it a little earlier when AC Romero asked for his release. That release wasn't even on your mind at the time. But as his tag team partner, when he asked for his release, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, well, this is gonna damage me, or did you kind of know that, all right, well, I can do something on my own now?
Well, I had thought both sides, to be honest with you. I had thought, oh my gosh, creatively, now I'm in shambles, but on the other side of it is the fact that I knew the work that I had put in order to get myself in the best top physical shape for me. And I was getting a good response and, really good praise for, the hard work that I put in the gym, all the while still waiting my turn. And it just appeared like my turn never came around, and I was still working hard. And I feel that, I'm the best I've ever been, physically. I'm the best I've ever been, in the head, mentally, as far as going into a wrestling ring and performing at my tip-top very best. Right now is that time. And I just felt that I was just sitting and waiting, and I'm just ready to come to work. That was the ultimate factor at the end of the day, is to know that, like, hey, MLW, that door is open. I'm ready to step through it. AEW, you have this dark, or you have Rampage. I'm ready to show the world what I can do. NWA, same way. You're looking for talent. I'm looking for work. Everything starts to add up, and I would hope that I would be able to prove my worth to all of those companies.
Absolutely, I totally agree. One step back to Wrestle House. When you guys did that for the Thanksgiving special, everybody looks at the numbers and determines if a show was good or not based on the numbers. But I'll admit, I had a few drinks over Thanksgiving. I think we all did. And I was watching that show and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm watching, but I'm really entertained by it. The second go around, Wrestle House 2, was that fun for you guys to do it as a 2-hour epic as it aired?
Yes, it was a lot of fun to do. It was long days, and everyone that was a part of the Wrestle House production, the crew and everyone involved, man, those were like 12 and 14, 15-hour long days. And, the last day that we shot up there, most of us had flights home the next morning, which depart early, and you have to get there 2 hours prior to checking, for check-ins and such. So, we might have been up there at 1 or 2 in the morning getting those last shots, maybe 3, and then some of us would have to be right back to the airport by 4:30 and 5. Wow. So but Impact took care of us, and they did not forget that, and that's a stand up move on their side. I feel they definitely made us feel appreciated when it was all said and done, and just the team that put it all together was great, and it was definitely an experience that I gained something on my resume that takes more than just taking a bump.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, you're in better shape now than you've been in a long while. Looking at wrestling now, though, it's almost entirely small guys. And that's different. I told you my age. I told you I grew up watching, the Hogans and the Andres and the Twin Towers, guys that were literally and figuratively larger than life. Now, you guys are almost like the smaller guys because there's less of you guys than there is of the smaller guys on TV. Is it more difficult to be a large guy in wrestling in the 2020s?
I feel that it's not. I don't think so because for me, me personally, I like the David versus Goliath matchups. I feel creatively that me as a heavyweight can really put together something special with someone that's smaller than me, and then we can tell a good story to get to where we need to go. And as far as like house battles, I love those. I do those all the time, and I feel that's one of the top of my games. But to me, I feel that I really shine if it's myself versus, say, a Rich Swann or someone like that, or myself versus, say, a Trey Miguel or, Chris Bays or something like that. I feel that even myself versus Myron Reed would be great. But to me personally, I like the David versus Goliath just for creatively and my own artistic ways of doing things inside of wrestling ring.
Very cool. You mentioned MLW. You mentioned a few names that I know were synonymous with MLW. They are doing some really good stuff right now. As you said, there's a lot of companies right now that are all succeeding in their own lane. And the one company you didn't mention was WWE. Do you have any desire or any hope of trying out or going to WWE?
Man, to be honest with you, I feel that I would fit better if I were to go. I love to teach professional wrestling. I absolutely love it. And to me, I think with WWE, that's a younger brand. Mm-hmm. I feel that someone like me, in order to work at a WWE, would more so be, a backstage of helping develop younger talent and, things like that. I think that would be an absolute dream job to me, would be at the end of my career to be able to help backstage and take younger guys that are extremely talented and just show them the little ins and outs that can make their product better. Very
cool. You mentioned that WWE is a younger brand, but it seems like all the young people are watching AEW. It seems like that's been like the hip young wrestling company, even though not all their talent is necessarily that young.
I believe that it's just it's an appeal thing. I think AEW is a more fast-paced, what you would see more so in today's wrestling. On top of adding major superstars, but the success comes with those veterans like Bryan Danielson, CM Punks, Colt Cabanas that have been around a very long time, that can take the group of young talent that AEW has now to develop for an even bigger AEW tomorrow. And I think that you would need those guys like CM Punks. You would need those Billy Gunns. You would need all those agents backstage that can really take that talent. And I would love the opportunity to have Mark Henry I'd love to sit under his learning tree. There's just so much going on at AEW that they should be proud of.
Absolutely. Last question. It kind of is almost the same as the first question, but was it a difficult decision to have a contract? To have a contract and leave that, that comfort zone and to, wander into this minefield that is wrestling right now, to leave a contract and say, I'm going to see what else I can do.
I worked my entire life, and I got in this business at a very young age, around 16 and 17 years old, and I never imagined that I would ever make it to a day that I would not only sign a television contract, because I was just enjoying running the local scenes, and then when I took it serious, and then I got myself to believe, hey, I can perform at the next level. And then I finally achieved that, I guess you could call it that childhood dream of mine of, you get to sign the contract, you get to wrestle on TV and everything. And I never imagined that I would find myself in a position to work so hard to get there and then ask to be released. But in the process, I've always been one that bets on myself. I've always been one to believe in myself, and I just needed to pick my pride up a little bit. And, I felt sort of unwelcome, unwanted, and, underutilized. And I knew that it wasn't anything personal because everyone there absolutely loved me from my understanding. I had a great relationship with the talent. It was always good. I have several friends there that I'm going to miss. But at the end of the day, I had to pick it up, and I had to bet on myself and prove to my son that, there's more out there if you go find it. And I'm not one to sit on the sidelines, even though I was extremely appreciative to be a part of the Impact roster. I was extremely happy being at Impact Wrestling. I just felt sitting on the sideline while everyone else got to play on the field just wasn't for me.
Awesome. Well, I want to tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time and sitting down with me again and talking about this and the decision to leave. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck out there. And, man, I can't wait to see where you pop up next because I'm sure there's a lot of phone calls to be made.
I appreciate that. I'm hoping to answer those phone calls as well very soon.
All right, man. I really do thank you for the time. And I already got a liner from you last time around, so I don't need to bug you to to give me a liner like last time. So. All right,
I appreciate you having me on. This has been fun.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you again, and stay tuned for more.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Take care. I'll send you a link to it on email when I get it posted, probably on Thursday.
That sounds great. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, rush.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
Yo, Maniacs, so what you gonna do when the Blaze of Maniacs runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Arriba la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey guys, we had a lovely conversation.
First lady.
Absolutely. Oh, look at me. She's so kooky.
Be there. Where else?
Interactive
Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling.
Epicenter.
Oh my God! You win! Wow, being interactive.
I was not shooting. Yeah, I almost missed my pants. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. I see my language. You're going to go to the shop. I see them now. We're into the many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's going to be cool. What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Champion. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you. Charisma.
So glad to leave without you.
In the land of extreme.
Testify. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic
You
head.
earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates cash. Professional wrestling.
Made in the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire. I'm not
We were sexy.
What a show.
One and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Interactive interview. We took care of the business. This isn't ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You gotta recognize who's the best. Make sure to tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line.
Have a nice day.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.